quotes terms related to Chanukah. I don't think I told you the first one, but first one, number one, is the acronym of the word Chanukah itself. Chanukah is spelled Ches, Nun, Vav, Vav, Hey. So that's an acronym, Ches, Neiros, V'Halacha, K'beis Hillel. And that we light it every day, one more, not one less. Right. So it's in the word Chanukah. Ches, Neiros, Ches, Nun, Vav, V'Halacha, Vav, K'beis Hillel. And what does the Hillel say? That you go ahead every day more. The Shammai says, Heiches b'Heilich, you go less every day, K'Parei Chag, like the Parei Chag, which means that the only other place where we find that instead of going forward, we go down, is during Sukkot. During Sukkot, we're supposed to bring 70 bulls. And these 70 bulls, we bring them throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, but the order is, the first day we bring 13. The second day we bring 12. The third day we bring 11. Every day we go down one, and then the total sum is going to be 70. And why do we bring these korbanos? This is in order to bring bracha to the nations of the world, which are 70. And Shammai says, just like over there, you go down, that's how by Chanukah you also go down. On the surface, it's still not so clear, so why compare Chanukah to that? But based on what we explained, that Chanukah is all about elevating the klipa, elevating, and that's why Chanukah is observed in the streets. That's why Chanukah is observed dafka at night. And that's why Chanukah is a dafka on the left side. So we explained because the Chanukah is something which was given to us, a power that we can actually reach out into the realm of klipa and turn it around. So the Parei HaChag is also for that purpose, to elevate the nations of the world. What does it mean that you go every day less? So if you remember, we explained, I said this in the dorm when we had the meal, but not everybody was there. So I'm just going to repeat it briefly, is that after all, it's a mitzvah. With mitzvah is supposed to go forward, not to go down. So the answer was that we're going forward, but it's expressing itself by going down. What does that mean? And the answer was, as if somebody would say, that today we no longer have factories, so many factories like we used to have that produced weapons. We no longer have factories that produce so many weapons of mass destruction. We have less soldiers, army people out there than we used to have in the past. Is that a positive or is it a negative? The fact that it's less. Let's say this again. Less factories that produce weapons of mass destruction. We have less factories that produce weapons b'chlal, or we have less people in the army than we used to have. What? It's a positive. That means that there's not that many wars going on and there's not that much of a need for these things as it used to be. So Beishamai looks at it this way. Beishamai was focused on getting rid or transforming the klipa. So therefore, the first day we needed 8 candles. The second day we didn't 8 candles anymore because we moved forward and we already succeeded to some degree to transform the klipa. So the next day we need 7 candles, and the next day we need 6 candles. So the fact that we keep going down, and then finally in the first day we need only 1 candle, means that we've so much accomplished the refinement and the transformation of the darkness and klipa in the world, that all we need now is just 1 candle. So even though we're going down, we're really going forward. So what does Beis Hillel say? Why does he say we go forward? Because Beis Hillel is not focusing on the darkness. He's focusing on the light. And every day there's more light than the day before. That was the difference that we said. And that's connected to the fact that Beis Hillel is Chesed, Shammai is Gevura. Now, the words number 4 on the list, it says mezuzah miyamin. The mezuzah is on the right side, and the Chanukah menorah should be on the left side. And we asked that question. So this is the thing that's explained in Chassidus, that the mezuzah is to draw down godly light, so it's on the right side. Chanukah menorah is to reach into the world of Klippa and to elevate it, so therefore it's on the left side. What does it mean? Lashkichem terasecha. These are the words in the Al Hanisim prayer that we say in davening, and we say it in benching. Lashkichem terasecha, they wanted us to forget your Torah. So we explained, it doesn't say they wanted us to forget Torah. They wanted us to forget your Torah, which means he wanted us to forget that Torah is Hashem's Torah. It's a godly Torah. That's the part that they wanted to make impure. Take away the godliness in the Torah, but not the logic, the intellect. That, in fact, that was their culture. It was all about intellect. The same with number 6. They also wanted Lahavira michuke ritzeinecha. Mainly, they wanted us to stop observing the chukim, because the chukim, those mitzvahs and those laws that are logical, intellectual, that they could understand, that they agree, that is consistent with their culture. But to do things that are beyond understanding, chukim, which is clearly recognizing Hashem as someone that transcends logic and greater than logic, that they denied, and therefore they were mainly against the chukim. Number 7, what did the Yevonim do? Timu kol hashmanim shebeheichel. They made all the oil tamei. So we explained the emphasis is they didn't pour out the oil on the floor. They didn't destroy the Beis Hamikdash. They didn't destroy the actual substance that was used for Torah. What they did, they made it tamei. In other words, they weren't really calling for people to stop learning Torah in general, but they were calling on stopping to learn Torah and take away the kedusha from it. It should be, you could study Torah, you can observe mitzvahs, but not the chukim and not those mitzvahs that represent kedusha, holiness. They wanted to take away the holiness and the godliness in Torah and in mitzvahs. Which means theoretically, you could have a person who's learning Torah, passionate about learning, but not really into the godliness that's in Torah. So why are they so passionate? Because they're passionate about the intellect. Just like we have people that are passionate about science and passionate about philosophy and passionate about history, passionate about medicine, they just enjoy studying this subject. Some people could be passionate about Torah. Yes, of course, basically because of Hashem, but what do I really feel when I'm passionate about Torah? The passion for the logic, for the intellect. It should be is the passion that through Torah I become one with Hashem. Number 8, the motzu elapas pach echet shel shemen. They only found one small jug of oil, and this jug of oil was laying on the ground, actually under the floorboard, and it was with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. So remember, we explained this too. What does it mean they found one jug of oil? That even though they made everything tamei, there was one little jug of oil that they could not reach, and that make it tamei. And that's alluding to the fact that every Yid has a yichida, part of the neshama, that nothing in the world could make it tamei. It's like we say about Moida Ani in the morning. Why do we say Moida Ani when our hands are tamei? Because the Moida Ani is connected to the yichida. And the yichida is the part of the neshama that all the impurity in the world can't touch it. So therefore we dafka say Moida Ani before we wash our hands to express that this is coming from the yichida of my neshama. which basically means that the Yechida sort of shines more in the morning when we wake up. Why is that? So just briefly, I didn't explain it, but I'll explain now briefly, is that the Yechida is the essence of the soul, which means the source, the root, the beginnings. So on a smaller scale, every day is the beginning of the day, and that's sort of the essence of the day, because everything a person does the rest of the day is the result of waking up in the morning, Baruch Hashem. That's why we thank Hashem, that I thank God I woke up in the morning. He gave me back my neshama. So the waking up in the morning, that's the beginning. So that's when the essence sort of comes in, and that's the Yechida. Similarly, it says that by children, the Yechida shines more openly than by adults. And the reason is because adults, we have the intellect, seichel, and the seichel interferes with the light of the Yechida. Yechida is something which is above seichel. It's from the deepest core of the neshama. And intellect and logic gets in the way. It clouds it up and doesn't allow, you have to work harder that it should be revealed. Children, because they don't have the intellect, the Yechida shines openly. So when you tell children stories from the Chumash, you tell them stories from Tanakh, but miracles that happen. There are people, very intelligent people, that are worried. You're telling children such stories, they're not going to buy it, they're not going to believe it. It's just the opposite. Their belief is so much stronger than adults, but not because they're children and therefore they're gullible to believe everything. No, it's because the true reason is because their Yechida, which is the source of belief, is shining more openly than by adults. And it's interesting that the whole mitzvah of Mashiach, the Rebbe actually began the campaign with the children. From the children, it evolved to the adults. So it started off with the kids, Tzivus Hashem, and their banner was, we want Mashiach now, and they're singing with Mashiach. They had no problems. The adults, now? What do you mean now? How do you know it's now? Who says, and we think, and what's going on here? Little children had no problem. They were, Mashiach could come this second, they were all ready. So the Rebbe began with the children, and that inspiration went on. Number 9, I didn't mention it, but this is from the Medrash, which is also consistent with what it said in Chassidus. It says that the Yevanim, the Greeks, said to the Jews, "Kislev lachem al keren asher." What we want you to do is write on the horn of an ox. What should you write? Ein lechem chelik b'elokei Yisrael. You have no portion in the God of Israel. You could be studying, you can be observing certain commandments, moral, ethical, honoring parents. That's beautiful. But just write not God, not godliness. And I mean, there's of course explanations why the horn of an ox and so on. But just the idea that was the clip of Yevanim. Mahadran and Mahadran. So we explained how the mitzvah of Chanukah is being observed on a level which is beyond the requirement of halacha, and it's beyond 2 times. Because halacha, 1 candle would have been enough. The fact that we're lighting, everyone in the family lights a menorah, the men. And the fact that every night they light an additional candle is called Mahadran, Mina Mahadran. And we explained that this is also because when you do a mitzvah, because you're obligated to do it, because it makes sense to do it, so you do what you're obligated. When you do a mitzvah, it comes from a deeper place in a person, then you go beyond the letter of the law. You're not limited. And when it's coming from Yechida, from the essence of the neshama, you go to the point of Mahadran, Mina Mahadran, you do it to the extreme. Ad the Kalya Rigla Tarmadah, until we no longer see the feet of that tribe called Tarmadah, that's until that time you light the candles. After that, there's no point in lighting the candles. Anyone remember what we explained? What does it say in Chassidus about these words? We said the word Tarmadah is the same letters as the word Moredes. You rearrange the letters. Mem, Vav, Reish, Dalet, Sof. Morebes means rebellious wife, meaning Hashem is our husband and we're the wife, and rebellious. You have to light the candles until Kalya, it'll completely end and eliminate Rigla. You won't even have the feet of rebellion against Hashem. So the purpose of the menorah is to light up, the darkness should become light. Mishatishka Chama, the mitzvah is to light it when it's dark. For the same reason, we're out to reach out into the klipa. Next one is Neros Chanukah, the mitzvah is to put it outside of the street. Why the street? Because the mitzvah is to elevate the outside. Number 14, Mizmah Shir Chanukah Sabayis L'David. I didn't mention this in class, but I'll explain it now. In davening, before Baruch Shomer, we say this chapter of Tehillim. It's chapter 29. And what is it? This is the song that they sang the Chanukah Sabayis when they inaugurated the Beis Hamikdash with David HaMelech. So, as I wanted to point out that what we're celebrating now is called Chanukah Sabayis. So Chanukah comes from the word chinuch, which means just like chinuch is training a child and the beginning of a child studying chinuch, so too we do the same with the Beis Hamikdash, that the first days when it was built, the first 8 days, that was sort of the inauguration of the Mishkan, of the Beis Hamikdash, because it wasn't used. When they first built the Beis Hamikdash, by Shlomo HaMelech, the first time, they actually celebrated for 14 days with a lot of korbanos. And how many days did they celebrate in the Mishkan in the desert? Anyone remember? I know it was a long time ago, but maybe. No one? It wasn't shy. Okay. Nothing new. So in the Mishkan, in the desert, they celebrated for 12 days, which means every day another tribe brought another korban, starting Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and every day another tribe brought a korban, no one else, and that was the inauguration of the Mishkan. So of course, because it was a different situation, there was a different way of inaugurating it. This one was 12 days. Shlomo HaMelech's time it was 14 days. Chanukah time it was 8 days, but they're all the same idea. Chanukah Sabayis. And by the way, this is the source of the custom that when we move into a new apartment, in Mirz Hashem, when you get married and you move into new apartments, one of the things that you do once you're in the apartment is you make a little celebration, and it's called Chanukah Sabayis, because every home is like a miniature Beis Hamikdash. And just like in the Beis Hamikdash, there was a celebration when they started it. They still do the same here. So don't do it 30 years later after you moved in already and you have grandchildren. This you do in the beginning when you first start. Now, you don't go to shul on during the week, so you wouldn't know this. But what do we read in the Torah? Every single day we read from the Torah during Chanukah. Anyone know what we read? What? Yeah, we read what they did in the Midbar, how the first day Shevet Yehuda brought a korban, the second day Yisachar brought a korban. Today's the third day Zvulun brought a korban. So we're reliving what happened when the Jews were on the Midbar, but it's only 8 days and there are 12 Nesim. What do? So the last day we read from number 8 all the way through till the end. And being that we won't even be here to learn about it, I really should just mention this, that the last day of Chanukah is considered exceptional day amongst even the Chanukah days, and it has a name. It's called Zois Chanukah. Why Zois Chanukah? Because after we read all 12 tribes, what each one brought on each day, then the Chumash makes then the Torah makes a conclusion. The total sum of what all of the Nesiim brought, this one brought this one brought that, and it begins with the word Zois Chanukah Sabayis. Could they even put a copy of it in the booklet? Let's see. Zois Chanukah Sabayis. Yes, you have it on the last page, 21. This was, they called it the dedication of the Mizbeach, but really it's not just the Mizbeach, it's the whole Beis Hamikdash. On that day, it was anointed, given by the leaders of Israel, and so on. So that's why the day is called Zois Chanukah Mizbeach. And There are a lot of things are written how this day is a special bracha for this, a special bracha for that. I think it says a special bracha for having children, all sorts of different things. And also when the Rebbe had the story with the Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which happened on Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day of Sukkot, when did the Rebbe make his Thanksgiving meal to thank Hashem for it? On the 8th day of Chanukah, on Zayis Chanukah. And he actually spoke about the fact that the 8th day of Chanukah corresponds to the 8th day of Sukkot. Okay. This is also a subject that there's a lot to talk about. Let me see if I'll go back through. I just want to go through the list. Number 15, Chochmas Yovan. Now, it's not hard to guess. What does that mean? Oh, very good. The wisdom of the Greeks. In other words, as far as wisdom is concerned, they also had wisdom. There's actually a phrase in Gemara where the Gemara says, if someone will tell you that the non-Jews are smart and they have wisdom, you can believe them. If someone will tell you they have Torah, don't believe them. Torah is wisdom. What do you mean? Don't believe them. If they have wisdom, then they can have Torah too. So the answer is no. Wisdom is seichel, and that Hashem granted to every human being. And there are non-Jews who are brilliant and geniuses. Torah is something which is higher than wisdom. Torah means something which contains godly light in it, and Hashem invested himself in it. And that's only when a Yid learns Torah that doesn't apply to a non-Jew. So if a non-Jew would take a Gemara, today you have Gemaras in English and different languages, you can read it, it's in Japanese. If they study the Torah in their language, even though they're looking at Torah, they're not absorbing godliness, because this is something which was given to you. So that's why it says, Chochmah they have, but not godliness. I'm looking here and I see we have another week of class that we can really give. Okay, next, Ner Chanukah v'Ner Shabbos. Which comes first? Say that again?
Chanukah.
Again?
Chanukah.
No, Shabbos. If it's Friday afternoon, this week will be Friday. By the way, I mentioned that we read every day from the Nesiim, so this Shabbos will be a very unusual Shabbos, and that is they take out 3 Sefer Torahs. And here again it says the Shabbos, they take out 3 Sefer Torahs. When you open the Ark is the time that you can ask for everything and anything. It's a very, very, very auspicious time. On Shabbos itself, when they open the Ark to take out 3 Torah scrolls. Why 3? Because one is the Parsha of the week, one is the Torah scroll to read Chanukah, and the 3rd Torah scroll is to read Rosh Chodesh. It's also Rosh Chodesh. So this doesn't happen every year. And that's why the benching is also the longest benching of the year. You say Ritzei for Shabbos, Yalav v'Yaveh for Rosh Chodesh, and now Anisim for Chanukah. So the halach is that if a person doesn't have enough money to buy, which Baruch Hashem, today's day and age, it's hardly conceivable. But years ago, it was something which is possible. A person was so poor, he hardly had money to buy a candle. So what if a person has money to buy 1 candle only? So pi halacha, he can be Yetzer Chanukah, just lighting 1 candle. That's good enough for the ordinary days of Chanukah. But if it's Friday afternoon, you have to light 2 candles, 1 for Chanukah and 1 for Shabbos. Which has preference? That was my question. And I would think that, okay, light 1 candle, have in mind both. You can't do that yet. It's a bracha. This bracha is the Hadik Ner Shel Shabbos, and this one is the Hadik Ner Chanukah. So which one do you do? The halach is Chanukah, Shabbos. Why? So in the Rambam it says, because Shabbos was established for Shalom Bayis, and Shalom Bayis is above all. But in the Chassidus is another explanation, based on what we explained, that Shabbos, that the Chanukah candles is about refining and elevating the street, the darkness outside. So first you have to have light inside, and then that light which is inside can go as far as elevating the outside. So candles of Shabbos is to bring light in the home. The candles of Chanukah is to bring light outside of the home. So first you have to light inside, then you have to light outside. If not for that, we would close the school down and say, everybody go out, do Mivtzayim a whole day. No, you can't do Mivtzayim unless you have light inside. So first you have to learn, you have to go to classes, and you have a whole yeshiva of Bachram here and all around the world. Imagine you let all the Bachram loose. Let them loose in the street, just do Mivtzayim a whole day for the next year. There'd be 100,000 Yidden becoming observance of Torah mitzvahs. So the answer is no, it's not going to work, because in order to give light to others, we have to have light ourselves. First comes Shabbos candles, and then goes Chanukah candles. Number 17, Chochmah de Klipa is the same idea. It's Chochmah of Klipa, of Yevanim. Rabim biyad ma'atim, many in the hands of few, that the few were able to overcome the many. Mesiras Nefesh is the Chashmonaim. That's what they had, Mesiras Nefesh, because Mesiras Nefesh has to come from a place which is above logic. Turn the page. What else do we have on the list? So the connection between Sukkot and Chanukah, I told you, is an interesting connection. They both have the same idea of reaching out to the outside world to elevate it. And that's why in both places we find this idea of going down rather than going forward, but it's all really forward. But there's another interesting thing, which is that it's brought down in Kabbalah. It's not in Halacha, but in Kabbalah, that really Chanukah is the culmination of Shmini, of Simchas Torah, of Sukkot. And all these days in between is like Chol Hamoed. It's a long stretch of Chol Hamoed. But don't expect to have a trip every day from now. And so first of all, it's over. It's Hanukkah already. But that's why I didn't tell it to you until now. But it says that from Sukkot until Hanukkah, it's one continuation. And it has to do with the fact that it's along the same ideas. The Rebbe, for example, used to bring in some 70s an incinerator where they used to burn the chametz, but the Rebbe would bring his lulav on Chanukah sometimes to burn it on Chanukah. The lulav from Sukkot to burn it on Chanukah.
I still have mine.
Lulav?
Yes. It looks really good. I don't want to get rid of it, and it smells nice.
Hold on to it, yeah.
It's the water is black, but if I can do anything,
Yeah, you can change the water.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means to a certain extent the judgment that Hashem gives us, Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, and then we know that a certain element of the judgment is finalized on Sukkot about the water. So it seems that Hashem Rabbah is considered like the final judgment. Then it seems to be the final judgment is on Chanukah. With Chanukah, we celebrate the Simcha way, not the other way. Okay. Number 22 says, it reads, Ner Chamishi, with the 5th lichtul, the 5th night. Ner Shlishi is the Dritte lichtul, the 3rd candle, which is last night. Today is the 3rd candle. And explain this, I think, Yutas Kislev, the Alter Rebbe went out of jail twice. After the famous story of Yutas Kislev, he was arrested a second time. And the second time, he was arrested the same time of the year, right after Simchas Torah. But when did he go out? He went out on Chanukah. And which day of Chanukah? So apparently there were 2 stages. Something happened partially on the 3rd candle, and then the complete going out of jail was on the 5th candle. And that's why we celebrate that day. It says that so a lot of people make a point. I mean, years ago, people would give Chanukah geld on that day, but the Rebbe already instituted to give Chanukah geld every day. And nevertheless, it's today of Farbrengens, the day which is considered. There's another reason why this candle is this 5th day is special. And it says that the 5th day of Chanukah could never come out on Shabbos. the way the calendar is set up, it can't come out on Shabbos. So why did I make it special? That means to say that the Chanukah candles, their point is to light up the darkness. So in a sense, the darkest day of all the days are that day which could never have the holiness of Shabbos in it. And even that, the Chanukah candles are there to light it up and transform it. Does anyone know what the gematria is of the dreidel? The letters in the dreidel? Nun, Gimel, Shin, Hey. It's 358. Shin is 300. Nun is 50. Gimel is 353. And Hey is 5. That's 358. 358 is the gematria of Mashiach. In Israel, there are four letters. You know that. It's not Nun, Gimel, Shin, Hey, because we say, this is a big miracle Hashem made there. And they say, this is the great miracle Hashem made here. So there's a pay instead of a shin. So you can never get a shin over there. What's the gematria of Nun, Gimel, Pei, Hey? It's the gematria of the name of Mashiach. The Gemara says Mashiach's name is Menachem. So Nun, Gimel, Pei, Hey is the gematria of Menachem. And Nun, Gimel, Shin, Hey is the gematria of Mashiach. And again, there's a lot of Kabbalah about the idea of the dreidel, that you turn it and it turns. What is that all about? What does it mean? There's one more thing I want to mention, which is also a subject of Chassidus at length. And that is, for this, you must look in the booklet and make it more clear. Let's turn to page. And there's one more thing after this. Again, I can't give the explanation because that'll take all more time, but at least to be familiar with the idea. Look at page 10 and 11. 10, you have it in Hebrew, 11, you have it in English. It says like this: I will establish 7 royim, 7 shepherds, and 8 officers. That's what it says in English. Set up 7 shepherds and 8 officers. But another place it translates in Sichia, not just officers, but like it's a royal term, a term of royalty. So there'll be 7 shepherds and 8 of royal individuals. Turn the page to the Gemara. So the Gemara says, who are this? These are 7 tzaddikim and 8 tzaddikim. Who are the 7 tzaddikim and who are the 8 tzaddikim? So you look in Gemara, page 12 in the booklet. So it says like this: who are the 7 shepherds? Meaning to say they're the shepherds of the Jewish people. And even though they were in different generations, but they're considered the shepherds of all the Jews of all generations. So it goes like this: David be'emtza, David HaMelech is in the middle. Adam, Sheis, and Mesushelach mi'yimine. Adam Arishan and his son Sheis and Mesushelach, which are descendant of him, they're on his right side. Abraham, Yaakov, and Moshe are on the left side. Altogether, there are 7 shepherds. Why these tzaddikim other than other tzaddikim? That we don't know. At least I don't know. Then it says there's 8 people that are considered royalty. Who are the 8 people considered royalty? 8 princes. So the 8 princes are Yishai, the father of King David, King Shaul, the prophet Shmuel, the prophet Amos, the prophet Sphania, and the king Tzidkiyahu, Mashiach, and Eliyahu Hanavi. So there are 7 and 8. So there's a Gemara from the Alter Rebbe that go in to explain how the 7 candles in the Beis Hamikdash that corresponded to the 7 shepherds. The 8 candles of Chanukah correspond to the 8 candles, the 8 tzaddikim, which are called tzaddikim sichim, royalty. What is the difference? I'll just say one word, but maybe we'll have another opportunity to explain it. In general, the difference is that the shepherds bring down the pnimi. Being that a shepherd is someone who feeds the animals, food is something which is internalized. So that's the inner light, mamala kolamun, the light that's internalized, that penetrates into the worlds and into every Jewish neshama. And the 8 in Sichya Adam, prince and royalty, that's something which is makif. They bring down a all-encompassing light, which is infinite and affects us more from the outside. And with this, I wanted to say one more thing to conclude, and that is that, so what happened in the Beis Hamikdash when they lit the menorah? It wasn't just lighting the menorah to symbolize the 7 candles, symbolize the Jewish people. Basically, this Shabbos we'll be reading Haftorah. And Haftorah will be one of the prophets called Zechariah. And he had a prophecy where he saw a vision. What was the vision? Yaakov saw a vision, a ladder. He saw a vision, a menorah with 7 branches. And then he saw the interpretation of the vision. The menorah is the Jewish nation, and the 7 branches are the souls of the Jews. Because every year, the soul, the neshama, is like a candle. Ner Hashem, Nishma Sodom. Why 7? So the simple answer is the Jewish people, our roots are from 7. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah are together 7. So therefore, we're a nation of 7. The deeper reason is a Kabbalah that every year has a different nature and a different mission and a different purpose. Altogether, there are 7 categories: Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisod. When Aaron HaKohen lit the menorah of the Beis Hamikdash, it wasn't symbolic. When he lit the first candle, every single Jew in the world, wherever they were, their neshama that was connected to Chesed lit up. When he lit the second candle, every single Jew in the world who was connected to Gevurah, his neshama lit up. And the same with Tiferes, Netzach, Yisod. So when he was lighting the candles, he was drawing down light that was shining into the neshama of every single Jew in the world. Now it's not so hard to imagine. Imagine you have a switch that you turn on the light in the room. Then there are certain switches you can turn on the light in the whole building. And there could be a main switch that you turn on the light in the whole neighborhood. And you can turn on the light, theoretically, that's going to turn on or turn off the light in the whole continent. So Aaron HaKohen in the Beis Hamikdash was a light that lit up the whole world, not just the continent. Every neshama in the world was lit up by his thing. What about us? When we light the menorah, we're also doing something similar, but because it's not the Beis Hamikdash, we're individuals, it only affects things locally, which means me, my family that I'm lighting, the surrounding, whoever else sees my menorah or the area where I live are also being affected by the menorah that I light. And what does it mean being affected? That their chesed and gvura and teferes, the neshama, is being lit up. And that's what we see today. Thousands and thousands of Jews are literally lit up by seeing the menorah. They see the menorahs, and it does something inside. I told you the story with my son and the policeman, right? So he saw a menorah. He said, "Okay, yes. I want to light the menorah," and he followed him to the house. And then poor guy, he thought, "Who knows what's happening? What did I do wrong?" The cop has followed me to the house. And he said, "I have a problem." He said, "Oh no, what did I do wrong?" He said, "The problem is I'm looking for a menorah." And he said, actually, it was since October 7th, he was inspired to get more involved in Judaism. And after the incident in Sydney, Australia, he felt, I want to light a Chanukah menorah. And then when he saw the menorah in the car, he said, okay, this is where I'm going to get it. I didn't know where I can get it. He knew where to go. So basically, lighting a menorah isn't just a symbol, a reminder. It literally has a spiritual effect on us and our families and anyone else who is around it. I would go to say that the menorah, when you light it in 770, being that this is the menorah of 770, the Nasi Ador, so this candle affects the world. And one of the times we saw it literally was what was called Chanukah Live. You know what Chanukah Live is? You read about it? No? Next teacher's coming? Oh, no, okay. So, anyway, this was a breakthrough in 1991, then in 1992, that they lit the Chanukah menorah in 770. But for the first time, they made the kind of that it was able to see the menorah through satellite, but they lit the menorah here, and you were able to see it all over the world. And they also lit the menorah in Yerushalayim, in Australia, in Hong Kong, in Russia. Imagine in Russia for the first time publicly lighting a menorah, but the whole world could see everyone else is lighting the menorah. And the whole world was watching at the same time.
Yeah, you have to explain to them that it was poor internet.
It was satellite. It was a little bit different. In fact, someone told me that he was in the room, the people who take the video, the people who are taking the picture, they see everything. They have to make a choice. Which one are we going to put on the screen? So one of the technicians who was working in that room, there's some bachram there helping them make the choice. Okay, put this on the screen, put that on the screen. So they had 13 screens, which are the 13 places in the world. I think it was 13. And at one point, the technician goes, "Wow, I just got the chills. What happened?" He saw the way the Rebbe goes like this, and they see on the screen all over the world, everybody starts dancing stronger. So he told them, really, it happens all the time. The Rebbe does what he does here, and it affects the whole world. But now you can actually see it on the screen. The most moving of all, which brought everyone to tears, was to see someone in Russia, I think it was in the Kremlin, lighting a menorah, and the whole world was able to see it and say, Amen on the bracha. And another thing which is interesting, someone brought up, that it says in Gemara that when Hashem created the world, light was so bright that you could see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. And Hashem said, I'm sure you remember this from Parsha, that the world is not worthy to have such light, so he hid the light until Mashiach comes. Where did he hide it? The one place says he hid it in Torah. In another place it says he hid it in the Chanukah candles. So it makes sense that on Chanukah we should be able to see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Anyway, Afreilach and Chanukah. Enjoy the rest of the Chanukah and the latkes. Yes.
Thank you. I was a bit confused about why we read every day of Hanukkah, like
The what?
what the Messiah brought, why do we do that?
Why did we do that?
Yeah.
Because just like the first time, part of the rededication of the Beis Hamikdash was by every day a Nasi bringing a korban.
But that was during Nisan.
That was during Nisan. Right, but it was during the inauguration of the Mishkan. So now, being that this is also rededicating the Beis Hamikdash, so we read it. And when we read it, again, it's not just remembering history, it means we're drawing down what Shevet Yehuda brought down then. We're drawing down what Shevet Shimon brought down then. We're accomplishing the same thing.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, have a great day, everybody. That's all.
Thank you.
How did they go? How did it go? Oh, I don't know. Sorry. That's pretty.